Okay, all right, guys. Thank you for being here. This is fun. This is a big part of our vision since we started the gym, was just this idea of wanting to do more than just physical training, more than just fitness by itself. Most of you guys in this room have been with us for a long time and kind of understand that a bigger part of our vision is holistic health. So even though this seminar specifically is connected to fitness, to setting good fitness goals and how to reach those, this is really much more so about mindset than anything else. We've talked a little bit over the years, the first couple of years being open, about leaning into the 5 factors of health: eat, sleep, train, think, and connect. So when we have these seminars, it's kind of stepping away from the physical aspects of your eating, sleeping, training, and we're talking more about thinking, mindset, mentality, and also connecting, obviously being here together. I know that next month already, we've kind of slated it to our next month, we're talking about nutrition. So we'll have a nutrition seminar in February, and then kind of the goal is coming off these seminars is that there will be some actionable points moving forward. And so after tonight, you'll hear about even a further opportunity to dig deeper into some goal setting outside of fitness that we want to offer. And then after our nutrition seminar in February, we'll talk about, hopefully at that time, we'll have figured out the best way to offer nutrition coaching to you guys. That's a big goal for us. And so there will always be some sort of actionable step we want to take after these seminars. But for this one, we had a couple different targets for this, and after getting these sheets from quite a few of you guys that you filled out for this first cycle of the year, we felt like talking about the right mindset and mentality of goal setting is really the best place to start. And so again, while this is very fitness oriented, this is much more about mindset, mentality, and for me, I want to end tonight having primarily addressed the issue of connecting your fitness goals to your value as a person. As coaches, for me, for Brooklyn, Lee, David, all the coaches in here, our primary goal is, yes, we want you to squat better, we want you to learn how to do pull-ups and do thrusters and learn how to row really well. But more than that, our biggest challenge is not so much teaching people how to move better, so much as coaching mindset and mentality, because you guys all are willing to work very hard, more so than the majority of the population. You come in every day willing to work hard, but it's really the way you leave we're more concerned about. And so the hardest part of coaching itself is making sure that when you leave the gym, like you've had the best hour of your day, that's a big target for us, but when you leave the gym feeling successful. You leave the gym feeling like you have made progress, that you have put in good effort, and so because you've put in good effort, you have every reason to be proud of yourself. And the worst thing is watching you guys leave, watching the 200 people we have here leave on a consistent basis, feeling kind of demoralized or deflated because they can't perform the way that they feel like they're supposed to. And so really, this whole goal setting seminar is about learning to set the right goals so that when you walk out the door, you feel the sense of pride that you frankly deserve to feel because you chose to walk in the door and you chose to do what you do in that room. And then be able to set very practical things in place so that you can make progress towards those tangible, actionable things of the way you move, the way you feel, the way you look, and all that. So, to start with, it's really just kind of approaching that goals versus outcomes mentality. So when we finish tonight, we want to spend the last half of this time together. We'll give you guys, or you'll use those sheets Brooklyn just handed you, and we want to take your goal for this first portion of the year, or maybe for the entire year. We want to take your goal, we want to break it down into actionable pieces, assign it to a specific group of people here at the gym or a coach, so that way there is a plan of action to pursue that goal moving forward. So that's what we want to do at the end. To start with though, we want to learn how to set the right goal. And for most of us, we struggle with goal setting, and beyond goal setting, we struggle with reaching goals or feeling successful because goals are not what we set in the first place. What we typically set are actually outcomes. What we typically set are events or results. And so I'm going to pick on Nina. So glad you came. It's just because you're great. Everybody loves you. Okay, so Nina on her paper has written an excellent, what we would call an excellent goal. Okay? So she wrote on her goal pull-ups, to do pull-ups, which is a great goal in the gym, right? We all love to do pull-ups. But I would argue that doing pull-ups is not a goal, right? Doing pull-ups is an outcome. Doing your first pull-up is an event. Doing your first pull-up is a result. And the purpose of Nina's life does not end the second she gets her first pull-up, right? So the pull-up is a great metric to measure by, but it is not an ultimate goal. For almost all of us, we have these like 3 levels of goals, and the first level we ignore most of the time, the second level we focus on, and the third level we neglect. The first level is really like the actual goal itself. The second level is what we call the goal often, and the third level are the things we should actually be measuring. And so this is what we want to talk about primarily tonight. What Nina has set on her paper is actually a what. Not a why, not a goal. It's actually a metric of moving towards that goal. So I would argue that Nina's why in the gym is much greater than being able to do a pull-up. It's much more heavily connected to the person she becomes along the way of getting to do that first pull-up. It is much more connected to who she is as a person rather than what she can do. And so her goal needs to be dug in a little bit deeper beyond that, I gotta get my first pull-up. What most of us do is spend our entire lives setting tons of whats without knowing why and without doing anything to actually reach that in the first place. And so that's what we want to talk about tonight, is essentially setting the right targets. So this is, we've nerded out on this as a coaching staff probably like 2 months now. So Brooklyn did a great job writing it, drawing it up for us. Wow! Wow! Okay, so you gotta join into the fitness nerd out here just for a second, okay? So one of the biggest pet peeves in the world is setting goals, connecting your sense of value to those goals, and then doing absolutely nothing required to reach them. Because all you were doing right at that point is setting yourself up for like catastrophic failure, not only in not reaching your goals, but in diminishing your value as a human being. You have now connected your value as a person to a goal you have no intention of ever reaching. So our job is to help you in fitness specifically tonight determine appropriate goals. So this is not about like taking small swings. This is not aiming low. Aiming low, it sucks. Aiming low is for cowards. We don't want to aim low. We want to aim high. We want to set big goals. We want to be like audacious in the things we want to try and achieve, but we also want to be realistic because we don't want to set goals that you guys actually don't, for one, actually even care about reaching. We don't want you to set goals that you feel like you should set because of cultural or society expectations. We want you to set goals that you want to set because you actually want to set them. And we want you to set goals like relevant to the amount of investment that you're willing to make. Okay, so what we wrote back here, this is what we kind of call, we've titled it, you guys have all heard likely in the business world, the law of diminishing returns. This is like what we call the law of diminishing investment when it comes to fitness. And so we kind of categorize it into 5 levels of fitness, right? So level 1 through 5, you can see that to go from level 1, this is like base camp, we'll call this like fitness Everest right here. To go from base camp to level 2, like the climb is not quite that steep, but like it maybe takes a little longer to get there. The distance between level 1 and level 2 is a little bit further, but it's a much easier climb. Like the grade is not that intense, doesn't require that much like specialized skill or ability to get from level 1 to level 2. It just takes some effort and it certainly takes time. So to get from level 1 to level 2 is just that, time and effort. To get from level 2 to level 3, it starts getting a little bit more steep. The effort has to be increased slightly. It's going to take a little bit longer because, as you know, when you add elevation, the output becomes more required as far as the power that you have to give it. So now to get to level 2 to level 3, it's going to take a little bit more time and a little more effort, but you cannot give the same effort to get to level 3 that got you to level 2. It's going to be harder to go from level 2 to level 3. That's why it's called leveling up. So it's tough. To get from level 3 to level 4, now you're talking about like it's getting steep, the grade is going way up, it's probably going to require some specific equipment, some specific abilities, some specific skills to climb from level 3 to level 4, and then when you're talking about getting to level 5, it's just straight up, right? Like you have to have a whole new set of skills. You have to have a whole new specialized, specific set of abilities and tools and resources even to get from level 4 to level 5. When you're talking about scaling a mountain, like right here, you're just going for a walk. right? So you need legs. Right here, you're going level 4 to level 5, you need like whatever those little pickaxes are called that help you climb the side of a mountain, right? So literally even the tools required increase to go from here to here. So for that to make sense, what we've done here is we kind of work together, a handful of the coaches here work together to really spell out what these levels look like when it comes to fitness. Okay? So at level 1, we're calling it healthy. So these are all metrics. You guys may not be able to read these. Yes?
Yeah, can you type it out and hand it out?
Yeah, we'll take a picture of it
Okay.
and send it. We'll post this for you guys. And this will be on our website as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll take a picture of this and post it for you guys to be able to see it referred to later. But level 1, we're calling healthy. And I won't read all of this out, but essentially there are different metrics that we measure those levels by. So I'm just going to use a couple of them. For healthy, we're talking about body fat percentage. For men, being somewhere around that 20-ish%, for ladies being in the high 20s or right at 30%. That's like healthy, right? That's base camp level. You are fighting comorbidities, you are moving, you have started your process, and it's healthy. When it comes to aesthetics, we're going to blame this one on Kelsey when we're talking about what's it look like to be healthy. Kelsey coined this as, if you're healthy, you don't look like a bloated blueberry. So that's our aesthetic goal, right? And so with aesthetics, we're not necessarily targeting like a specific lean body composition. What we're talking about more is like is biomarkers, what's going on inside of you, beginning to get those biomarkers down, like your triglycerides, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, all the things that when you do blood work, it starts to look better. That's what we're looking at for healthy. When it comes to your abilities, you're doing daily activities now with ease. You are able to walk from level 1 to level 2 now, whereas for a lot of people, that could be more challenging. So that's what it looks like to be healthy. Now we're talking about the investment required to get there. The training volume to be healthy, 3 to 4 times a week. Come in, do a class, you're on the FX track, you're never really doing anything that's challenging you to learn new skills or abilities, but you are moving 3 to 4 times a week. Your nutrition is relaxed, but it's not really mindful, it's not strict, it's not super regulated, but you do limit the number of times your meals come through the window of your car to be healthy. But it is much more relaxed otherwise. Whenever we don't do drive-through at the crew. So, when we're talking about level 2 now, so it's getting a little steeper. We've arrived here, and so when we're talking about level 2, to get to fit, we're talking about body fat dropping, aesthetics. You've got a healthier, toned appearance. If people look at you, they're like, yeah, that looks like a healthy person. Depending on just like your genetics, it may look a little bit more healthier than others. But when we're talking about being fit, it means you have a more toned appearance. For guys, that body fat percentage drops. For ladies, it does as well. When we're talking about ability, you finish in the gym PX workouts. So our PX track, you can finish those workouts whenever you're fit. Your training volume, in terms of investment, you're training 4 to 5 times a week. With nutrition, you're eating responsibly. You are thinking about both the quality of your food and the quantity of your food. So you guys can see even here, to get from here to here, that investment increases quite a bit. So you kind of understand what's happening here. So we'll move through these other ones a little bit more quickly. But when we get to level 3, that's obviously a much steeper climb. So the level of investment spikes significantly. At that point, you have visually specific muscles. Like people look at you and they're like, oh, that's a bicep. I get it. Like that's what a quad looks like, or shoulders, knees. That's what we're talking about, the aesthetics. That's what it looks like to be an athlete. Your abilities at that point is you're not quite moving the weights that are a part of our CX track, but you're dominating PX workouts. So like you would dominate workouts with the PX movements, the PX loads, and you're completing those and dominating those. We're about to do the CrossFit Open in just a few weeks, I think like 52 days or something like that. And in the CrossFit Open worldwide, you'd be finishing in like the 80th percentile. So the top 20% of the world is where you would finish at this level. Required though, you're in here Monday through Friday and you hardly ever miss 5 days a week. Your nutrition, unfortunately, investment increases quite a bit and you're eating strictly. and you're eating with this mindset and this mindfulness to fuel your body. You're thinking about what I'm putting in my body is intended to fuel me. I'm not necessarily doing it for performance purposes, but I am being much more mindful considering my nutrition. Now we're talking about competitors. Sorry, Brooklyn, I'm racing with this. Unbelievable. We're talking about L4. So to get from L3 to L4, you're now like on all fours trying to climb up that hill, right? The investment is spiking significantly. You can see like this grade is fairly gradual, but now to get from L3 to L4, it's like this is the real deal. This is where fitness becomes more than fun, and fitness becomes more than something integrated in your life. It becomes more of a focus for your life. And when we're talking about being a competitor, we're looking at 12 to 18% body fat. 12 for guys, 18 for ladies at that point. Aesthetically, you're referring to what most people would call shredded or like built. Whenever you look at the guy or the girl, you're like, oh, okay, they do stuff. I get it. And as far as abilities, it's like podium material for local competitions. So like we had a bunch of people do that competition in Knoxville earlier in the year. This competitive level is like podium top 3 finishers at local level competitions when it comes to that CrossFit Open. At this point, we're now finishing in the 85th and 90th percentile. We are never not doing CX workouts, even though we may not be dominating them. You're always doing CX workouts. But then when it comes to investment, you're in 6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, sometimes focused on specific skill sets, specific mindful techniques. You're even now focused on your mindfulness training. Your nutrition is all of this, and you also probably are following some sort of more strict regulated nutrition plan. You're counting your macros, you're counting your calories. This is now integrated into becoming a significant part of your life and your energy, and you start saying no to other things so you can say yes to this even more. Now we're going to level 5, and frankly, there's really no reason to even talk about this because you guys don't know a single person in real life that's doing this, frankly. No matter anyone in our gym who would like to pretend that this is the level that they are at, this is not the level that they are at, nor is it an appropriate level to try to get to for anybody that we have in this gym right now. Because when we're talking about this, you don't have a job because this is your job, right? Like this is what you do for a living at this point. Your volume, this is like the best way to describe this. Like 5 to 6 days a week, 6 days a week, most of the time, sometimes 2 times a day. You're stretching, mobility, all of that, that's competitor. Now to get to this, your training volume is it's all that you do. Like you don't do anything else. This is it at this point. All you do is train, eat, and recover. And if to do this, to get to this aesthetic, this investment is required to get to this level of aesthetic, and this one is coined by, you could pass as an Avenger, or as a female, like as Wonder Woman, basically. That's your aesthetic that you gain from this. But considering that investment piece. So, all of that to say, the worst thing that we can do is keep measuring our success for level 4, or at times even level 5 goals with a level 2 investment. Because frankly, sometimes genetics are friendly, and I get it. But frankly, you will never achieve this with making this investment. Like you cannot keep this level of effort and reach this point. And that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you have like very little willpower. It doesn't mean anything negative. It means that we should be measuring these things as successful goals. We should understand that to look good and to move well is actually a really healthy, helpful target. Because the other aspect of it is if this is really our goal and we're investing this amount of time, energy, and effort, then it's helpful to understand that this like scale, this like Everest of fitness, one of these exists for every other area of your life as well. So like you have one of these for your family, you have one of these for your job, you have one of these for other hobbies, you have this like sliding scale of performance and investment for every area of your life. And the higher you get on the fitness one, the less time you're gonna have to climb the others. So is it appropriate for you to even pursue these kind of results at level 4 and level 5? Like probably not. Maybe it is. Like maybe you're going to be the first CrossFit Games athlete that we send, and that's awesome. That's great for us if you want to do that. Let's talk. But if not, like we need to talk about how to support each other, frankly, like at these levels of moderate investment and solid results. So that's really the the entire mindset and the entire goal of what we're trying to accomplish here in the gym is looking at ourselves, looking at each other and going like, hey, like to have a healthy and toned appearance, like it's really enough. That builds the confidence that is needed. Like that's good. And that is going to require being in the gym 4 to 5 times a week. It's going to require eating responsibly, focusing on the quality of our food, and focusing on the quantity of our food. The other level of athlete we have in this gym does kind of ride the line between level 3 and level 4. You guys see those people working out before and after classes, following our competitive programming track, and that's totally appropriate. If it's like something fun and it's the sport and it's what we do for fun, that's great. But it's even harder for those people to not measure their success at this level based on these metrics. But like, you're never gonna lift what Rich Froning lifts whenever you're investing at this level, right? So we have to be able to invest properly, set the right goals so that we feel like successful and like our value is not always compared to the Instagram highlights of everyone else that does this for a living, or everyone else that does any kind of fitness, anything for a living. So like we can't measure our body composition, the amount of weight we can lift, or the movements we can do based on people who do this at this level. Whenever what we're doing is this at this level, so that we can get to this level in other areas of our life. We're much more concerned about how high you can climb outside the gym in other pursuits and the gym supporting them. Because like, honestly, when it comes to the grand purpose of your life, like how important is it really to get past this point? And this sounds like a real bummer and very counterintuitive to somebody who owns a gym to try to tell you guys to like make fitness less of a priority, but that's not what we're doing. We're not trying to tell you to make it less of a priority. We want you to connect it to the right priorities and the right goals so that we continue to empower and enforce what you guys do out of the gym. Because fitness is always about how it can improve who you are outside. And when you set that as a goal, it will make you more passionate about coming in and pursuing this every day because you should feel successful every time you leave the workout floor. So that's what we want to do, is this idea of this guided exercise tonight. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. This guided exercise tonight being about discovering why, determining what, and then detailing how we get there. So I'm going to do this very quickly as an example for me. So you guys can go ahead and pull that sheet out. You don't have to write on it or anything yet. We'll do this kind of as a guided exercise as a group. But we've kind of labeled these. We do this as we did this as a gym like a little over a year ago. This process called vision and traction. So who do we want to be as a gym? Well, it's finally up here on the wall. So this is what we want to be as a gym. Now, what are we going to do to make that happen? Because that's cool if that's a goal. But like, what are we actually doing to accomplish that? Because you can't just set that as your vision if you don't do things to actually get you there. So these concepts being vision and traction. So vision being, who do we want to be? What do we want to accomplish? Traction being those actionable things we do to get there. So for me, I went ahead and filled this in, and this is just fitness. Like that's all we're talking about tonight. Is just in fitness specifically. So for me, when it comes to fitness, my goal, like my why, the first step is, and these mean like specific things for me, but my why is to look good based on my metrics, to move well, so to have mobility, like at the age I am now and for the rest of my life, to move well, to live strong. And that for me means a whole lot more than being able to lift a strong amount of weight, but to live with a significant like purpose and intentionality, and knowing what I do in the gym helps me become that person who lives a strong kind of life outside of the gym. And I want to do that for a long time. So look good, move well, live strong for a long time. So that is what makes sense to me as step one. One of those what's, it's got to be measurable, it's got to be like detailed, and it's really helpful if it has a time frame. So one of those what's for me, some of you guys may have heard me say this, so by the time I turn 30, so next January, I want to do in the same day, I want to do a 500-pound deadlift and 50 unbroken pull-ups, and I want to run a mile in 5 minutes, all in one day. I don't know if that's possible. Like, I've tested it, I definitely can't do it now. We'll see if it happens. I don't know. But that is a goal, like that's a what that I have set. As a how to get there, I've listed off a few things because I tested it and I'm not there. on any of those three. Yeah, I can't do any of those three things yet. So it's unlikely that if I don't think about it until now, or until next January, from now until next January, that I will just be able to do those three things, right? Like that's not how it works. It's going like, I think I'd like to do that. I will do it tomorrow. Like it's just not how it works. So I've got to set some detailed hows moving me towards that what. But if those hows and that what aren't actually serving the why, they need to get erased and rewritten. So the hows are, well, I should probably train 6 times a week. 5 to 6 times a week of training. Doesn't have to be like sell your soul to the workout, peel yourself off the floor after, but move and train 5, 6 times a week. Sleep, that's a huge, huge part. A goal for me is to sleep 7 hours a night, and I am not doing that. Okay. Mobility sessions, when it comes to nutrition, I'm going to follow our nutrition guide, which is to eat real food, eat the right amount of food, and eat plants as well. Like we say that, eat plants. Like don't eat processed food, eat real food, and not too much of it, but the right amount of it. I want to avoid processed food and avoid added sugars. And then when it comes to the specific what, I don't really need to do anything in addition to strength training because we do that in the gym. But to run a 5-minute mile is kind of tough, and so I'm going to do interval running like twice a week for the next year. So those are the hows, supporting the what, but both of those things are set in a specific time frame that serve the larger why that really never changes, right? So, but the what will change and the how will change based on how long I live and how these metrics adjust. But the important thing to realize here is that if I were to tie my value or feeling successful in health and wellness or fitness to the what, and something were to happen that kept me from achieving this goal, which is a tough goal to achieve and I may not achieve it anyways, but if something were to happen completely out of my control, like break a leg, some sort of injury, I don't know, global pandemic that shuts everything down, like if something out of my control were to happen and I couldn't reach this goal and the purpose of my life at that point just suddenly disappears, then that's a problem. So the why needs to be achievable no matter what these are. Because the hows, those things, I can train 5 times a week. I can sleep 7 times, or 7 times, between now and next year. I can sleep 7 hours a night. I can stay in control of my nutrition choices no matter what. Like those hows are completely in my control. I may not be able to train the same way, depending on circumstances. I may not be able to eat the same food, but I can be in control of how I respond to the changing dynamics of the world when it comes to the hows. So, Nina's example, pull-ups. That fits right here perfectly. What happens if Nina loses an arm? Sorry. Yeah. What happens if Nina loses an arm? She can do 1-arm pull-up. Awesome, even cooler. But legitimately though, that's the kind of crap that happens in life and in the world, and we are not in control of that. But what Nina is in control of is why she wants to do that goal in the first place and the things that she can do to move towards it. So this is kind of fluid, it's dynamic, it changes, and frankly, it's just like they're cool and they're moments and they're really cool opportunities to celebrate along our journey, but they're not it. So I guess as a last example, and then we're gonna dig into this, like for me, I had this was connected to weight for me, because those of you guys who have been doing this long enough kind of know where my journey has been even, and so I wanted to reach a certain amount of weight. Like I wanted to weigh a certain amount in order to feel successful. So I wanted to weigh over 180 pounds because that's like over 40 pounds from where I started this. So I wanted to weigh 180 pounds. I've done that twice. The first time I did it, I got mono and lost 14 pounds. Second time I did it was very recently, and then I got COVID and I lost 11 pounds. So neither one of those things were in my control. I finally reached it, and neither one of the things that caused me to come away from that or drop underneath that were in my control whatsoever. If my value as a person or my feelings of success completely deflated because of things out of my control, then this would be like a completely lost cause from the start. So why and how matter so much more. What are the really cool things we get to celebrate along the way? But those first and third pieces are what we measure and what we support each other with. So, you guys have this paper. we're going to take, I guess, the rest of the time, maybe we'll ask some questions first, and then we'll take the rest of the time to talk about setting these goals, taking these goals, taking the why, writing it down. Then we want to talk about the what, so these middle pieces, and then we want to talk about the hows. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set one why, and this is just fitness. We're just talking about in the gym. If you guys already did your Jaguar thing, like just use that. So Nina used the pull-ups. Like that's perfect. I took another one. Where's Doug? So Doug's is excellent. Doug's is to bench press a certain amount of weight because it is an indicator of overall wellness. So like Doug is much more wise than some of us. And so, but for Doug, like that is an excellent what. So how can he do that? And he has already written down why he wants to do that. Because it's a measure of committed fitness for a long amount of time. It's a long arc of success, even though success may look different from time to time. So we want to do 1 why, 2 to 3 whats. So in the next year specifically, what are 2 or 3 things that you want to see happen in the next year in the gym when it comes to fitness? And then we want to do like 4 to 6 hows. So 1 why, 2 to 3 whats, or even 1 what if it's big enough. And then like 4 to 6 how do you want to do those things in the next year, in 2021 specifically. And then we'll do the traction part together. So the first is vision, the second is traction. If you guys have any questions, you can just shout them out. Broken can do it.
James, if you want to weigh 100 pounds,
Yeah.
Next year.
Man,
Man, I wish we could trade.
Just wait. Yeah, just wait.
All right, hey, so it's 6:30. We'll go 8 minutes and then see where we're at. 8 minutes to write this stuff out. 1 why, couple of whats, 4 to 6 hows. Make it clean because we're going to read some of them as a group. Maybe. You just fill Libby's out for her. Hey, you can stop now, brother.
You want to say goodbye?
Help.
Okay.
Tell Jade to sign off.
Do you want to sign off?
What do I say?
What's a good sign off? Like, come up with it. Like, really
Like a news anchor signs off at the end of the night.
I don't know. I'm not the best for this one.
Well, guys, you heard it here. That's it. Bye.
You heard it here. That's it.
Live well. Stay fresh.
Stay fresh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, stay for certain. Probably just check in. so go do the house too. What do you think that? What you feel like is at least what makes sense. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about it, then we can keep filling them out. So, let's do a case study, and then we'll go from there and see if we can dig a little deeper and maybe make some adjustments where it's needed. So, Miss Chris, let's use yours.
I'm just saying, just saying I'm a failure. I don't know. My why is to be able to do this the rest of my life.
Yeah,
To
I mean-
have something that I can do the rest of my life.
yeah. I mean, you are literally our first member here.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, so what would be a good, and I mean, we'll just dig into this because it will be helpful in other people figuring theirs out. So to do this the rest of your life is the goal. So what in 2021 would be a metric that you could measure that is just like a fun, let's celebrate this specific thing on the road to doing this for the rest of your life? Because like, while this is frankly kind of the least important, they're also the moments that are really exciting. So it kind of like pumps some like excitement into the journey. It pumps some excitement and some energy into that like long arc of success. Those moments of like, oh sweet, it's working. It's like the PR day, right? When you hit a PR and you don't think it's gonna happen. So that can even be a goal, is like set a certain number of PRs you wanna hit this year. Doesn't matter in what or how, but how many times do you wanna like hit a new personal record in the gym? Something along those lines. So like think through that as to like what you could assign that would be like for Miss Chris this year, this would be an exciting thing to like hit and celebrate. So, and just thinking through in that long-term arc of success, it's the more important thing, but how can we make it even more exciting, essentially? Bo, what about you?
Which one?
Any of them. What's one of your whats?
It's 75 unbroken double unders.
Nice. Good. Where are you at right now?
About 40.
40. Cool. So what were some hows that you wrote down for that?
Haven't got to that one yet.
Okay. Who's gotten 75 unbroken double unders? Yeah, Brooklyn couldn't do double unders before. I don't even know what I just said.
It just looked.
It just happened. So what were things that you did to do that?
I practiced after Metcons when I was tired. I practiced double unders.
So a what would be, or a how would be twice a week. Stay after. Start the clock for 5 minutes. Under fatigue, you practice double unders. Essentially, would just be one of those hows. Like, so what was the why that those are connected to for you?
Oh, well, the why was under a healthy heart, so I'd be here for my family.
Yeah. So connected to stuff outside of the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Who else has one they want to share?
What I have working on form. What's the main thing I have?
Yeah, so that would be more of a how. So why do you want to work on form?
So I can do it like successfully and work move up the levels.
So you can lift more, right? So it's harder for you because you don't have a lot of numbers right now. So it would be determining what those numbers are. But in the what, it would be more writing specifically, I want to lift this amount of weight or try to hit this amount of weight, or maybe just like hit a 1 rep on all of your major lifts. To do that, you need to focus on technique first. So that would be like the how. What about you, Jade?
Which one?
All
Does it
three.
matter? All three?
Start at the top.
Wow. Well, this is embarrassing, but my why is to stay more active and to look better in my clothes.
To look better what?
In my clothes.
There you go. That's okay. David Durfee's goal is to look good naked, so it's a good balance. Oh no! I did. We just opened the door for that one. All right, sorry, Jade. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, so look better, feel like confidence in that way. So what are things you want to measure?
My what's are to be able to lift about 5 to 10 pounds heavier than I can now. Be able to run a mile without having to stop for a breather.
Perfect. I love that one.
And then try not to have to modify the workouts as often. And then my hows would be to run more and spend a few extra minutes in the gym after the workout.
I feel like you guys spend a lot of time in the gym after the workout.
Not always good workouts
Go 8:30 class. No, that's perfect. So it would be, I think, potentially honing in what are the things that you modify often. What show up in workouts that you have to modify most of the time. And then that extra few minutes in the gym targeting those specific things. So if, for Bo's point, if double under is something you have to modify often, then you would really do the same thing. In those few minutes that you spend after the workout in the gym, you're focusing on the things that you modify. So like, ambiguity is okay to a certain point, because if you get way too detailed, then you'll never be successful, because if anything in those details changes based on things out of your control, then you won't feel successful. But I think detailing it a little bit more to that point of, I want to modify workouts less, I want to complete like PX, because you're doing PX for the most part, right? So it would be, by the end of 2021, I don't want to scale anything in PX workouts. You're probably there in terms of weightlifting already. And so it's really which skills exist that you would need to focus on. And then spending time focused on those after classes and such. So the most important part of this is how we connect essentially our feelings of success and value to like the relative appropriate goals that we have set here. So most importantly, like all of these that we talked about, and I would assume that most of your all's goals, like all three, the why, what, and how, are all pretty much live within these first three levels in some way. Level one is not really a place that we are super comfortable letting most people in here stay, because if you're in here, like the idea is that you want to improve, optimize your life in some capacity. And so as coaches and as a community alongside other people, like to stay at level one when you're a part of this group is actually really, it's hard. Like it's hard to be here for a long time and not get to this point, relatively, at least in some capacity. And so we always want to be making those improvements, understanding that it ebbs and flows as life changes. But what the most important thing for us is that you guys feel a sense of success empowering what you do outside of the gym all of the time. And so when you look at these sheets, and you set these goals, and what we'll do, if you guys are cool leaving them, do you want them to leave them and we'll put them in their accounts?
You want them in their accounts, then yes, I'll have them in their accounts by Friday, and they can have them back.
Yeah, so actually, if you guys will, before you leave tonight, because I mean, we're pretty much wrapped up, we'll spend the rest of the time filling out the rest of these sheets, and if you will leave them, what we'll do is take everything that you've written and we'll put it in your Wodify account. You can access it and we can access it, even more importantly, at that point. So if you guys look at the second part of that, the traction sheet, so your vision is written, or at least in the process of it. The traction is community, so who's going to help you? Clearly, being a part of the community here is a big goal. Having coaches in classes is a big goal. But going a step further, are there 2 to 3 members that you work out with often or that you know well? And are there 1 to 2 coaches that you feel like you kind of align with a little bit more effectively than others, and write them down? So if you have a coach that's like, I would be okay with this coach asking me where I'm at. I would be okay with this coach. Bo would be okay with this coach saying, hey man, you're practicing your double unders. I know that's a goal for you. Did that goal change? If it didn't, I haven't seen you practice lately. So Bo would write down the coach he's comfortable with, like addressing that with him. But also, Bo works out at 7 pretty much every single day. And so there are guys or ladies in that class that he would write down as well, that even we now as a gym know, hey, if we haven't seen Bo in a while, we should ask these people. And so it's just this level of like, to Miss Chris's point, like she wants to do this basically for her entire life. like doing this with a community of people that help hold her accountable to that, or even just support her or energize her to that is the goal. So the community piece is who will help you along this process. The second is consistency. You can't just write this down and never look at this again. So, I mean, if you like this sheet, that's fine. You can keep it forever and put it like in your dashboard or whatever, or on your fridge. But you can transfer this to like your phone notes or a journal or wherever you keep stuff and look at it consistently. But then you have to measure it. Like, you have to measure it often. I'm pretty sure that on your sheet, yeah, you guys have that paragraph above. So like the first reason this is important to do this way is that it is measurable. You can actually determine if it's trending in the right direction. And then the second is it's actually achievable. So like if somebody wrote down lose 50 pounds, that is a wildly awesome like what. And if you hit that, like that's excellent and we're excited. My suspicion is that anybody who puts I want to lose 50 pounds, apart from very specific situations, anybody who puts I want to lose 50 pounds is going to be way, way more excited about who they have become along the journey to losing 50 pounds and the other things they have gained in that process of losing 50 pounds than losing the 50 pounds in general. And so you're going to be a lot less worried about how long it takes you to go from pound 45 to 50 because you'll be way more energized and excited about the things you've gained along that journey. So in consistency, you should measure this weekly and you should measure it monthly. So for mine, I have weekly things that I need to be doing in my house and I have monthly things I need to be doing in my house. If I don't actually ask myself if I'm doing those things, I can't know if they're working. So for me, I put when I'm going to measure it, I'm going to measure it weekly at the end of the week, and I'm going to measure it monthly on the last Friday of every month. So I'm going to set 10 minutes aside weekly, I'm going to set 10 minutes aside monthly at specific times, and I'm going to say to myself, you're an idiot, you haven't trained 6 times a week. I'm just kidding, don't call yourself. Ask somebody else to call you an idiot. Don't call
I
yourself
will
one.
call you an idiot.
Thank you.
Anything.
I appreciate it.
Anything for you.
So mine are train 6 times a week. All right, did I do that this week? Great. Did I do it this week? Great. Whatever. At the end of the month, did I train 6 times a week all 4 weeks? So asking myself those questions because I can't actually know if they're working if they're not being measured or being checked into. So writing out who will help you in your sheet, leaving it with us so that you've written down never ever let Jameson ask me about any of this ever, then I won't ask you. Or write only let Kelsey and Brooklyn, because they're the only nice coaches here, only let them talk to us. Write that out in your notes. Everybody's just gonna write Kelsey.
Brooklyn can't do it, she's gonna teach kindergarten.
And then to finish, make sure that you write down on a weekly basis in like the frame of your week, when is a good time for you to actually evaluate if you're doing these things on a weekly basis, and then when is a good time for you to take 10, 15 minutes once a month to sit down and go, I'm actually hitting these targets on a monthly basis. You guys will leave, and so if you'll leave those with us, we'll put them in your Wodify profile. We'll use those across the next 30 years of your membership here to make sure that you reach all of your goals. And then just kind of hold you accountable to that. And then next week, we'll leave these labeled for you to take with you. If you want, you can take a picture of it tonight, so that way you don't have to worry about getting it back. But I would transfer this somewhere that you see it often.
So,
Yeah.
they have to have names on it.
Yeah, write your name on it. That's silly. No, we can figure it out. Yes.
Jameson's gonna figure it out, and.
Yeah, also write your name on it somewhere, because that makes sense.
Hey, how are we gonna access this in Wodify?
We'll send something out about it. You can, it's only on the web app. So we'll show you there. But take a picture of it so you have your sheet.
Do we
And
keep
I should
it?
have that, everything goes in there, I should have back here by Friday. It just takes me some time to get them all typed in.
Okay, so last couple of things. That top sheet that is that was connected to what you guys filled out. These are like a couple of deeper dives into how to do this with the rest of your life as well. And so when Rhonda and I were talking about this, we were gonna do this a little differently until all those Jaguar sheets came in, and pretty much everybody only wrote what's on their Jaguar sheets, rather than like the deeper reasons of or the how to get theirs, the hows to get there. How? I don't know. So this, these are going to be a couple opportunities for you guys to dig a little deeper into how to do this in other aspects and areas of your life. I know that for me it's been hugely helpful to use this similar format in like every space and every area. And Rhonda does this like professionally in real life as a teacher, with the hardest group of people to do it with. So there are dates on there. Is there a sign-up sheet too, or they just need to know? Okay, cool. So on your way out tonight, after you guys all stay for the 7:30 class, I'm just kidding. On your way out tonight, sign up if you are interested. This isn't like a major commitment, but if you think you're interested in sitting down in probably a smaller group and like workshopping this stuff out, not just in fitness, but in lots of other areas, like if you have career goals or you're stunted in other areas as well, these are a couple of workshop opportunities to take a little bit of a deeper dive into this stuff. Secondly,
And it's one or the other one.
yeah, those dates, one or the
Saturday
other.
or a Sunday.
Cool. So sign up on that sheet on your way out. And then I would encourage you guys, we'll take a picture of this and kind of transfer this digitally, put it on the website as well. But I would grab a picture of this as well on your way out, because ultimately, what would be so helpful is to leave tonight understanding like a real sense of clarity from fitness, on fitness and health specifically, like which of these you really want. Like what you just wrote on there is great, but it doesn't really, like you didn't really write on that sheet which level you want to like hit and maintain for the rest of your life. So these are pretty comprehensive like levels. And if you guys don't really want to work out as much as like Matt Frazier works out, then don't measure your performance based on people who do that. And so I guess to speak to that even outside of the CrossFit world, because in the gym, one of the things that we feel like we need to tread very lightly around is body image, which I don't think we should tread lightly around at all, because like frankly, it's not really a point of or a metric of success, because your body image isn't necessarily connected to your value as a human being. I understand its connection to your feelings of confidence and your feelings of I am the kind of person who, and if you are the kind of person who is healthy and pursues health and fitness and wellness, then you will be the kind of person who looks like it as well. But the kind of person who looks healthy, fit, and well is not the kind of person who has like manufactured that through fake means on Instagram. But that's what we compare it to. And so that is what we have got to like eliminate completely, is this like body shaming idea. And then beyond body shaming, when it comes to CrossFit specifically, we have like performance shaming. It's like I came in and I did 5 pull-ups, but this other person can do 30 pull-ups. And so my 5 pull-ups are worthless. But they're not, because it's likely that you couldn't do any pull-ups before. So you are measuring your success off of somebody else's metrics. You're measuring where you're at on this path and this journey based on somebody else's actual journey. And it doesn't make any sense. And that's like just life mindset in general. And we've got to like eliminate that in here so that you guys come in and walk out feeling as empowered and as successful as possible. And I promise you, whenever you set the right goals, you start measuring the right things, one, you're going to enjoy it a whole lot more. But secondly, you're actually going to end up being more successful in the long run, because you're going to stop doing stupid, harmful things like not eating enough, because you think the answer to your body image issues is not to eat any food. And it just isn't. You're going to stop doing harmful things like overtraining, because you think the fastest way to lift more weight is to lift more weight all the time. And that's just not true. Like, it's just not the case. You don't get stronger by 1 rep maxing every single day. It's actually impossible. There are consequences, like genuinely, there are physical consequences to living this kind of life. They're professional athletes. They mitigate those consequences with lots of resources and lots of things that we don't have access to. But there are still genuine, like actual health consequences to living this kind of life. Like you're actually in some ways moving away from longevity. You're actually moving away from long-term health whenever you are beating and destroying your body for the purpose of performance. So whenever we set the right goals, we start measuring the right things, we start pursuing the right things, we feel better, we start like actually feeling successful in our pursuits, we stop comparing ourselves. Like you guys have likely all heard the whole like comparison is the thief of like joy, fulfillment, success, all of that. We stop comparing ourselves to those things so that you can just basically measure it like against the mirror. You can measure it against, this is who I want to be, and I'm the kind of person who does these things, and so now I can feel proud of myself because I did all of my hows this week, and so I'm the kind of person who does that. And then you just stop doing harmful stuff. We stop under-eating, we stop overtraining, we stop like value shaming ourselves, we stop eliminating relationships in our life because we refuse to be friends with people we compare ourselves to. And that happens so often. And we see that break down so much, like on the CrossFit floor, because we want so badly like to compare ourselves to each other. And then it's really hard to do that whenever like you actually start supporting each other. But it's so awkward if you don't encourage each other in the CrossFit floor that you feel obligated to encourage each other, and then all of a sudden you're not comparing yourself to other people. So like encouragement is often, and support is often like that major combative point to comparing yourselves to other people. So like setting these goals and self-actualizing and self-realizing in these ways it doesn't just make you better, it will in turn make everyone around you better because you will become better for those people. And so this is kind of like optimizing not just yourself for the year, but our whole community. Like seeing how much better we all get because we individually get better. So main goal for this, like the why for this, is not necessarily so that you guys all hit your PRs for the year as much as you have like a trajectory of success for 2021. That no matter what happens, this in the gym is where you don't just experience like the best hour of your day, the phrase that we say, because it's fun or supportive or whatever. It's the best hour of your day because it is part of what makes you who you are. And you feel successful, you feel like you're making constant progress, it supports everything that you do out of the gym, and you won't ever reach that point if you're measuring the wrong things. So make sure that what you've written down is what you measure. So if your goal is not this, the fact you don't have a six-pack should never matter, right? Like it just shouldn't. It's not worth it. Like it really isn't worth the investment. If you've got it genetically, good for you. Otherwise, it's pretty complicated and it's pretty difficult. So don't measure your value, don't measure your success based on the muscles that you can see. And that's like David and I have talked, Rhonda and I have talked, like our whole team has talked about whether we even really want to say that. Because a lot of gyms and our entire industry is kind of built off of this idea of like dangling the carrot in front of you of like, just stay a little bit longer. Keep doing this just a little bit longer and I promise you'll have the body you want. I promise you'll have the look that you want. You'll have that aesthetic you want. And honestly, like, we're trying to do this for real, and so we're just not going to say that. We think that by doing this for a little bit longer, you'll continue to become the kind of person that you want to be. And the way that you look will just have way, way, way less imperative value in that. You will look better, you will feel better, you will move better, you will live longer. Go get blood work done. I encourage you guys to go get blood work done at the beginning and at the end of the year and see what happens. It's really crazy. You think you wouldn't care, but it's super cool to see what that happens. We will make progress. But what's more important to us as a gym is to do this, and to do this, it means being supportive of each other, setting the right goals, and becoming the people that we want to be. So pick the right goals, measure the right things, leave these sheets with us so we can help you, and sign up if you want to do.
One here and one on that table.
There's one on the table, there's one on the shelf. Get some coffee and stuff on your way out. Any questions? We will do this same thing next month. It will be about nutrition. What? It is. Tally.
To help clarify between things I want to do and things I need to do.
What's an example?
I heard you.
Yeah, absolutely. What's an example?
I just heard you express it a lot
Yeah.
in terms of your desire.
Yeah.
These are things I want to do.
Yeah.
But it could be a lot different in your goals and things I need to do.
Right. So, Mike, how would you answer that question? So, for Michael, I feel like that sits at a little bit of a different place because you guys know, like on the leaderboard, Michael can bench press more than all of us can back squat together, like as a group, probably. And so, how do you, on a consistent basis, how would you answer that question, Michael? Between when we're talking about these, like you kind of sit at this level here, but like this kind of gets dangled in front of you a little bit. Like as you look at people who are competitors, you look at people who do this for a living. Like how do you eliminate this as your goal and be content pursuing these things?
My goal was honestly I enjoy CrossFit games, but I don't want to be out there.
Yeah.
Because like for one, I don't want I love training, but I don't want to make my job.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like for me to balance that, like compared to I don't want to lose the purpose of enjoying training. Like I enjoy coming here and working out with everybody. But like compared to like doing the big ones for all training, like how it was to get to that point, it's miserable.
Yeah.
That was a small comp. I couldn't imagine like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I just like enjoying just the camaraderie coming in here. That's what keeps me coming. Honestly, that's how I balance from getting to that point because I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be redline all the time because it's terrible.
So even though that is your goal, is it still difficult sometimes not to compare yourself to the people at that level? Like days that you like see what somebody else can lift or what somebody else can perform at or how fast somebody else can do workouts. Is it hard sometimes not to feel like you have to compare yourself to that?
I mean,
Yeah.
I really don't look at the, like,
Yeah.
like, they lifted that, I mean, I'm sure, like, I mean, some of the stuff, like, okay, the CrossFit totals, like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that, but like,
Right.
I can,
Yeah.
it's not the thing about it, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard, it's like, yeah, maybe if I was like 10 years younger, maybe, but like,
Yeah.
at this point, it's like,
So Chris, to that point, are the things you're talking about mostly like performance-based things, like, or aesthetic things, but based on the things that you want versus on the things that you should set, like appropriate goal setting, essentially.
There's just some things that I just don't enjoy doing, but I know how to do them better. There are not many things I really desire to do.
oh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I did a lot when I was running was there's always somebody to compare yourself to. And you know, in running it's very easy in age groups. So as I've gotten older, I had to rearrange my thinking. And I've talked to Jameson about this. I'm one of the older members here, and a lot of stuff, and I've got some previous injuries and things that some of the stuff even becomes age graded for me. So I've got to set my goals within those parameters. Okay, and then the other thing was one of my mantras. I've had enough success to keep me motivated when I was running, but I also had enough defeats to keep me humble. So I balanced those two things. The defeats and the humbleness keeps me motivated, and the victories likewise keep me motivated. So it's finding, and it comes back to goal setting, and that's why goal setting is so very, very important. And that's why New Year's resolutions fall apart within the first 2 weeks is, yeah, it's easy to say I've got this goal, but, and I've used this with my kids, our children. A goal without a plan is just an upbeat, easy dream. And that's what I found. That's what I've hounded in for our appreciate this session tonight is, it is really what you put down in that paper. And it's a working document, as Jameson says, because life happens. And so keep it where you can have those victories. That'll keep you motivated, even if they're small victories, even if it is your goal just to show up 4 times a week.
Yeah.
That's a victory. Because if you're here putting in the effort, and your goal is 4 nights a week, and you make it 4 nights a week, then celebrate that. That keeps you motivated. Then maybe you work towards 5 or 6, whatever it may be. And then, you know, understanding that there's going to be those defeats, so to speak, or those things that don't get done maybe in the time frame that you want, that will humble you, but it'll also then become a new way to motivate yourself. Maybe in a different manner, a different time frame, or maybe, you know, James used my example of bench pressing a certain way. You know, it's steps too. It's not going to happen overnight. It may not happen in 2 months. It may not happen for 6 or 8 months. But I'm not going to give up on it. So just know what it is.
Well, and I think, I'm not sure how we missed this too, but I think I understand your question, Chris, which is probably a really good point to end on, is the fact that, like, we've talked tonight about the idea of determining what you actually want, and then recognizing the investment it's going to take to get there. But at the same point, it's determining what level of investment you're willing realistically to make, but that also isn't easy. So I think to your point, it's like, it's not really a goal, and it's not really an investment if it's not painful or uncomfortable or risky in some way. And so when it comes to the investment portions, like you shouldn't create essentially a comfort pad and only write down things you know you can accomplish, even in your habits. So like, if I wrote down train 3 times a week, that's not really like a challenge. It may be for some people, but it isn't for me. And it's okay that it's challenging for other people, but it's not okay for me to use it as a metric of measurement if it's easy for me to do. Because what's easy for me is not easy for others, and what's easy for others is not easy for me. So to your point, Chris, if it's performance-based, and you know the hows, some of the hows are things you do not want to do, they're most likely, for most of us, not even really connected to the gym. They're probably connected to eating. They're probably connected to sleeping. They're probably connected to mentality and other things outside of the gym. And they are difficult, and they do take discipline, but they are much smaller things to measure. And they are much smaller areas to stay disciplined in than others. And so when it comes to that, it's like, no, like you should not want to do everything you've written on this paper. If you did, that's not getting better. That's not leveling up. Like, do yourself a favor and don't only write hard things down. Like, you do have to do hard things, but everything you do doesn't have to be hard. There needs to be a balance, like a healthy balance of that in your life. And so, to that point, I would say, like, you know, and we've talked about it even what you're doing right now with like your accessory work that you've programmed in addition to what you're doing in the gym. Like, maybe that's stuff you enjoy, but I'm watching you do it and going like, I don't want to do that. So like, they could be different. And so for me, like, based on mine, if I could do that goal, you know, next January, that's going to be really cool. Like, I'd be pumped if I hit that. What it's going to require, like, frankly, I hate running. Like, I really do. And nobody can believe me.
I don't hate it.
But I really do hate it. Like, and I've just been like decent at it. But to get better at it is going to require a certain level of work and a significant level of discomfort that frankly I don't want to experience. So to that point, it's like, is the goal worth it? And it's got to be worth the discomfort. Any other questions? Who's staying at 7:30? You guys working out? Okay. Cool. Alright, so finish those. If you have any other questions, finish writing those out, and then if you will, leave them with Rhonda at the front desk. Take a picture.
Leave them right there.
Leave them right there. We'll get them.
Those and the drinks,
Yeah.
and stuff, just leave it all where it is.
Tableside service. Leave them where they're at. Turn them in. And we will let you guys know about the date for the February seminar. Make sure you guys sign up with those sheets as well if you are interested in digging a little deeper into stuff. That.